What can we do is what people want to know. Number one, I hope that we will all be clear about whose side we're on. You don't have to even agree with anything I've said. What you should agree with is that people everywhere in the world, including 90 miles from our shore, should be allowed to go into the street, peacefully march, call for an end to dictatorship, and not have their head cracked open. By the way, no one in Cuba has guns except the military, so why are these repressive forces walking around with these rifles and people getting shot? They're shooting people that literally are unarmed. Should be able to do that, and we should be clear. We should be clear in our language. We don't just condemn this tyranny, we condemn this communist, this Marxist, this socialist tyranny. Call it for what it is. Number two, we should make clear nothing's going to change. There's not going to be any sanctions change as a result of this. On the contrary, I hope the Biden administration will now announce they have finished their review of Cuba policy and everything that's in place is staying in place. To the extent we change policy, number three, I hope we make it a top priority to allow the people of Cuba to have free, unfettered, and open internet access. And the technology exists to do that with a satellite-based system. We should put the best minds to work on getting that done, because if the Cuban people have free and unfettered access to the internet, the first thing the regime shut down yesterday was the internet. They can communicate with each other, and they can receive information and communicate with the world. It's 90 miles from our shores. We should be allowed to do that. Number four, for all of those who believe and have faith in the international community, and I still hold hope that one day it will work again, where's Spain? Where's the EU? Where are all these countries that for years have given cover and protection to the Cuban regime and condemned America? They should speak out clearly that what's happening there is wrong, that repression is wrong. We should rally that. We should use our position of strength and power in the world and our influence in diplomatic circles to make that happen. And number five, I hope the President will be very clear with the regime in Cuba that we will not tolerate them encouraging a mass migration event, because I'm warning you, this is what they do. They've done it twice already. Things get bad and they say, look, if you don't lift sanctions, if you don't go back to the Obama-era policies, if you don't get rid of the embargo, it's inevitable. You're going to have 50,000 people take to the ocean and head towards the United States. They've used that against us twice. They did it in '94, they did it in 1980 with the Mario boat lift. And President Biden needs to be clear, whether it's through private channels or saying it publicly, be abundantly clear that we will treat the encouragement of mass migration towards the United States as a hostile action and act accordingly. That cannot be tolerated. I want to close with this. I recognize that most of the members of this chamber, most of the people here in Washington, and frankly, most of the people in the country do not pay attention to Cuba on a daily basis. I get it. I really do. But if you're not following the issue of Cuba, you can be forgiven for not knowing that what we're seeing, what we saw yesterday, what we're seeing today, what's happened recently, none of this was started by politicians. Wasn't started by me. Wasn't started by anybody in Miami or in Florida. Wasn't started by any think tank in Washington. Wasn't even started by political activists inside of Cuba. You know who started what's happening in Cuba? Artists, poets, songwriters, writers, actors, musicians. They're the ones who started it. The San Isidro movement. Because they came after them. And there's a song, a lot of people don't realize that there was a song that came out earlier this year, a song that, by the way, if you play in Cuba, you will go to jail. The song's name is Patria y Vida. Now, the slogan of the Cuban regime is Patria o Muerte, meaning fatherland or death. This song played on that. It says Patria y Vida, which means fatherland and life instead of fatherland or death. And the song is extraordinarily powerful because it was written by people and sang by people who have lived this reality and are living this reality. So powerful that, as I said, you'll go to jail in Cuba if you play it. And what the song basically says in its lyrics is, why can't people think different ways and not be treated as enemies? Why is life so good for party insiders and their families, but there's no food for average Cubans? Seems to be no embargo for the Cuban regime and their family members. Why can you build luxury hotels while our homes are crumbling? Why do Cubans have to suffer the indignities? The indignities of simple things like not being able to bathe with soap, not being able to use deodorant, not having toothpaste. Why do they have to deal with these indignities? And the song also asks, who told the regime that Cuba belongs to them and only them? Shouldn't it belong to all 13 million Cubans? The chorus, I'll read first in English and then I'll translate it in Spanish, because it actually plays on the dominoes. Dominoes is a very popular game played by Cubans, played by everybody, but Cubans in particular. It's a big game there. The chorus reads, se acabó, tu 5-9, yo doble 2. Ya se acabó, 60 años, trancado el dominó. And how it translates, it's basically, it says, it's over. You're 59, meaning 1959, the year the Castro took over, but I have double 2s. And everyone knows that if, in the domino game, if at the end of the chain, both dominoes, no one has any dominoes left to put down, the game gets locked. And you count numbers, you count dots, to see who won. So it says, it's over. You're 59, but I have double 2s. It's over. 60 years with the domino game locked up for us. Now, I know this is a very colloquial, Cuban way of expressing it, but this is incredibly powerful. People in Cuba understood what that means. And that means that all this ideology, all this stuff they talk about, all these lies of the regime work out really well for them. People don't believe it anymore, and they're not afraid anymore. Meanwhile, their lives are ruined. Young people in Cuba, artists in Cuba, who realize that the only country on this planet where Cubans are not successful is Cuba. And they're tired of it. And we should stand with them. Mr. President, I yield the floor.